This one's really callow and literally a first world problem, but also it's real. And I looked up articles about it, and they were either from the perspective of someone who wants more attention, or so simplistic I had to check if it was written for English learners. In the culture that surrounds me, not my choice, people celebrate birthdays. They remember which day they were born on, and then they figure out which day that will be every year for decades, and approach that day with a distinctive mentality or self-esteem or something. This is fine for a lot of them, I think. I wouldn't know what it's like to be them. Once a year, even I get included in this construct, though I never opted into it and have frequently, at least annually, made clear how I would really like to not participate. Most people, if you tell them the experience of an observed birthday directly gives me panic attacks, I cannot instinctively grasp the sentiment and it's really alienating. They'll respond, "Oh, I didn't know, happy birthday!" If you tell them it's the anniversary of a different trauma in your life, they'll go all quiet and respectful, but apparently this one's different. I face my birthday with the intense despair of still being alive, a torment that will not let up. In this way, though, it's much like any other day. It's gotten less of a thing in adulthood when hopefully people have kind of forgotten about me as a concern. But it's still an intense annual discomfort whipped up by humans who don't understand what they're doing. It's really anxiety-inducing to be greeted by birthday wishes. It's a lot like the empty human phrase, "How are you?" when they don't really mean it, but amplified up to a nearly conscious level phatic celebration. I know I'm being ridiculous, and I'm comfortable with that if it expresses my honest experience. A birthday? What I want is the opposite of birth. I think part of the problem for me is how much I dislike being alive, as an experience, as an ongoing thing. And to milestone it just cements the regret. Are milestones cement? I have that psychological impairment of judging oneself by one's achievements compared to their age, despite the inability to internalize achievements, and comparing oneself to the more successful in a capitalist hierarchy, the younger, those who didn't ever age this far. They got out. Rationally, success is overrated. Achievements are an oppressive structure or whatever, but reaching these advanced stages of aliveness far past one's reasonable expiry date is absurd, and when people bang on about it, it's not even the enjoyable kind of absurd. Like, a birthday is literally a combination of two of life's worst experiences. Social media really ramped up the intensity of these messages, with Facebook nagging us to tell people we're thinking of them because Facebook made us think of them. If you tell someone you're thinking of them, it just comes across a bit creepy. I'm thinking of you. If you have a visible birthday on the Facebook, you just get dozens of identical preset messages that show you that people are thinking of you, just not with free will. Weirdly, people tend to send pictures of the person to the person on their birthday. It's like sending people things you associate with them, but when you know so little about someone's interests that you just send them. There's a happy birthday song, which I strongly opposed when it was still in copyright. But it's free now, and my remaining problem with it is just that people don't agree on a key before singing it, so you never know quite where to place the upper harmony line. And it outstays its welcome, and it's about birthdays. This whole industry's around this shit, like wrapping paper and greeting cards, also known as landfill in waiting. Are we meant to keep greeting cards? I think I keep them if they're homemade, or maybe the last evidence of a deceased person's handwriting or something. A homemade card shows some sentiment and effort. I used to make those loads, but the mass market ones, or those online stores that approximate creativity via presets, are just an entire industry of societal peer pressure, something you're meant to do just because people do it. But they do it just because they're meant to do it, like social media or haircuts. Yeah, I've contributed to other people's birthdays, so maybe it's hypocritical of me to dislike it. It's different when it's me. Though I think they were specifically people who liked having birthdays. And I partly respect those people. I'm out of the habit now, but I think giving was a thing I was kind of good at. Getting and making stuff for people, often unique stuff, demonstrating how I hold them in much higher esteem than myself. In an era when I was better at concentrating, I would get a whole sketchbook and fill every page for someone. Like, write a book there's only one copy of. Things felt a bit less post-apocalyptic at the time. I phrased my experience of giving as a brag, but maybe it's more of a red flag, a red brag. Around here, everyone's assumed to have a birthday. The only ones who got theirs removed are those who are in a particular cult. And that's the one part of that cult I'd like to adopt, just without all the shitty culty parts. Because culture's kind of a cult, yeah? On your birthday, focus on the present. It's all you get. The culture of gift giving is maybe the most bourgeois thing I'm going to complain about on this channel, but it's a great way to deny people consumer autonomy and to stress out over getting them something they just feel guilty for having when they can't make use of it. It's sentiment as sediment. I think it was Arvind Schrödinger who commented on the moment just before you open a gift and then have to act grateful for the waste of it. That moment when, for all you know, it could actually be something kind of benevolent and beneficial. That moment is called the present tense. I've long tried to express that people shouldn't get me anything because I'm awkward, because of being honest, ungrateful, and just not culturally adjusted to it. But if you tell people that just means they get you bizarre non sequitur items because they've no idea what you might ever want. Completely not calibrated to your instincts. We can call those misgivings, which I have to stuff in a cupboard and then quietly give to charity shops when the guilt has worn off enough and they're unlikely to ask about it ever again. Like, if I wanted something, I'd probably eventually get it, check your privilege, or at least ask for it. It could be clothes from people who don't understand that I'm really uncomfortable in anything that doesn't cover my arms, or that's at all tight or with gimmicky statements, or just certain materials or certain shapes or something else inexpressible about it, or they haven't noticed that I've gained loads of weight the last couple of years, and well, thanks. Or a piece of media which you're then conscripted to read or play or watch, despite not honestly having an interest in it or the kind of concentration skills that would involve. These are all problems I have with people being selfless. I'd like to be selfless. It's kind of that they put this effort and expense in for something that's literally a waste of their money, of space, mainly of their good intentions. If we just didn't have these precepts, we'd avoid this very specific experience. Here in the bloody middle class, lower middle class, we're trained to just tell people what to buy us for the next gift time. Weddings do that thing. You know that thing from Weddings. I'm glad you know that thing from Weddings, because I'm not going to explain that thing from Weddings. It really fortifies the idea of gifts as a scheduled compulsion, rather than the gifts that actually work, which are whims born of honest sentiment and acute observation. I find the experience directly and absolutely alienating. The wasteful gifts, the wasteful and pointless cards, and the pointless well-wish for you to specifically have a good day on that one individual day, no other days. Days are bad enough in general, but that's one day you're really not going to have a good day on. Personally, I have relatives who insist on seeing me on the birthlight day, and I try and say I really specifically dislike the experience of that day as an imposition. Can we skip it? And they don't listen. I put up with it. I stay awake in the daytime for them. I apologize to them for who I am and then go and cry in bed for a while and maybe eventually open the cards I'm scared of opening a couple of weeks later. And generally that's all these days, but even that shouldn't have to happen. Maybe my experience of this stuff is complicated by how much I struggle with this whole life thing. But I've not made a video saying what chronic illness is like yet. People arrange birthday gatherings and they invite everyone, and then if you're unlucky enough to attend, then you spend it not much interacting with the one person you know there because they're busy with everyone else as a collective. So you're just overwhelmed by the strangers you're stationed with. Where I am, people also do Christmas with a similar conscription because Christians stole a different culture's holiday to pretend it was their wizard man's birthday. I find Christmas really imposing. In the long term, it can take up more than 1/12 of a year. You're meant to eat things where people can see you. It's among the worst times for seasonal depression, and if you work in retail or watch TV or go out, this compulsory saturation of a garish culture can be really overwhelming. I think it's not so bad these days, and like birthdays, it's more a childhood upset that I only really experience now as annual echoes. But that's still something to get spoken. Maybe it's the social overwhelm, especially with birthdays' center of attentionness. Keep me on the edge of attention. And as a ceremony, it just amplifies everything that's iffy and alienating about our constructs of age, of family, interaction, life, living, being alive. Just, if I can express my experience here, we can maybe make it better for people who feel like this by actually showing them respect. Or at least make it better for me. I know this comes across as intensely ungrateful, and I'm fine with that. I save my gratitude for things I'm grateful for.